clothing shop employees of Reddit. What's the craziest demand somebody made of you? I worked at a levee and a man came in to try on a plaid shirt that was displayed in the shop window. He said he had OCD and asked to try on every plaid shirt, probably 50 plus shirts we had in his size because he needed the lines to match up at the seams. I was bored AF, so I decided to help him instead of focusing on other customers. The sale took about an hour and a half, but he bought $400 plus worth of clothing and then called our district manager to say how happy he was with me because other employees wouldn't take him seriously. AWW, that's actually kind of nice. I had a woman screaming at me that I needed to look in the back for another size of a shirt she wanted. She couldn't comprehend that she was in a thrift store. I'm always amazed that people who are that stupid managed to find the store in the first place. She tried to return underwear and had a go at me when I told her that we don't for hygiene reasons. Made me call my manager and everything. There was a hair in it. It was also 50 cents. She probably could have sold 50 cents underwear in eBay to some fan. When I worked at Baby Gap, we didn't have the correct size Onishi that a woman wanted to buy. She then demanded that I go into the back and have them make her one. I had to explain to her that the clothes are sewn in China and shipped to us from a distribution center. There are no seamstresses making baby onesies in the stockroom of your local Baby Gap. Take the security tags and wire off a $499 North Face winter jacket and allow him to take it outside to try it in the sun so he could see if he really liked it. One time this lady came into the store and starts asking me for different sizes in everything. No problem. We have all the sizes in the back. I'll go get them. She's being a bit excessive. But whatever it means, I get to spend time digging around in the storage room. Eventually she comes across a sweater she wants to try on, and it just so happens that I'm wearing the same sweater at work that day. She asks for a small and I apologize because we are sold out. This lady then looks at me and goes, well, what size is the one you're wearing? I'll just take that one if it's a small. No B. Why would you want my dirty, sweaty, stretched out sweater anyways? I was honestly so baffled I just laughed awkwardly and walked away. LMAOB literally felt entitled to the shirt off your back. I was working customer service at a JCPenney's outlet store when we had a woman walk in wanting to return some items. When I asked for her receipt, she said she lost it, so I thought to try scanning the barcode to see if I could bring up the purchase in our system, and that's when I noticed the tags had the store logo on the back. For Hudson's, a store that had been gone since the 1990s. When I confronted the lady about the fact these clothes were bought from another store and had to have been bought at least 8 years prior, she said with a straight face, well, I obviously can't return them to Hudson's now, can I? I was nearly floored by that encounter. I used to work at a little gothic clothing shop. Corsets, dresses, t-shirts, etc. I once had a really huge guy come in, pretty dang overweight, and ask for a corset for himself. And he wanted to try it on. We did have a little changing room, but corsets are tricky to get into at the best of times, so he was definitely going to need some help. Not wanting to upset him or make him feel bad, I could tell it was quite a big deal for him to ask, so I had to try and help him into this thing. Long story short, but it was a bloody battle, but in the end he was delighted. Thank God, because he was fairly sweaty and I didn't really want to put it back on the shelves. I rang up the sale and he paid. Next he wanted a bag. The owner was an idiot and didn't want to pay out for bags, but of course this poor man didn't want to walk all through the shopping center clutching a rather large corset, so I had to run next door to the pet shop to borrow a bin bag for the poor guy. I hope he was happy with it in the end. Freaking bless you for not making that dude feel bad about himself, TBH. I work at an outlet mall, and I had a lady that hardly spoke any English yell and scream at me that it was a Texas state law that every store must stay open until sunset. It was a Sunday, so we closed at 7 p.m. But since it was summer, the sun didn't set until 8:30 p.m. so she could use the fitting rooms. I replied, "Mom, the sun sets later but Gap closes now. The fitting rooms are closed, please make your way to the cash register." She insisted I call my manager over, who not only hates rude customers, but hates rude customers who are mean to his employees. He basically says the same thing I did, but then tells her just to leave if she's not going to purchase anything. She ended up begging us to let her try on the clothes outside the store, in an open parking lot, so she could buy them. We said number, by far the weirdest request we've gotten from a customer. My wife used to work for Irie back when it was more of a direct competitor to Versus, that is. They sold more lingerie than just underwear, and apparently it was a regular occurrence to have guys come in and ask the staff to model the products so they could see what it would look like on their girlfriend. Usually it was older dudes, think 40 plus, which, when you consider that most of the staff was 16-20 years old, makes it even creepier. I had someone ask me this while I was shopping in a Versus before. Disturbing F. Had a customer demand a refund because the salesperson told her if she wanted a refund she had to bring the receipt, which would have been fine if she brought the product to return. Got mad cause I refused to give her money for nothing. Got more mad when after screaming at me for 20 plus minutes she asked me to lunch and I said no. Dress them. A fully grown woman wanted me to dress her because the customer is king. Because y'all keep asking. She was pretty but not hot. I am a heterosexual woman so that didn't matter anyway. Please tell us what happened next. I used to work at an outdoors store and someone once came in looking for a fully waterproof vest. I asked why he would want such a thing, and he told me I have a very expensive down vest and I need a waterproof vest to cover it so it doesn't get ruined. I tried repeatedly to explain that a rain jacket will do the same job, without getting his head, neck, arms soaked. He was insistent that he can only wear a waterproof vest, because what's the point of owning a $750 vest if you're covering it up with a jacket? We went back and forth for a good 5 minutes and he just couldn't grasp that the parts of him not covered by a vest would get wet. I do customer service for a clothing company. I had someone call cause she didn't get the online promotion that we had. It was clearly stated on the ad that if you don't enter the promo code, you don't get a discount. She threatened that she would stop buying from us. Welp, I didn't care. I used to work at Vans a while back as a floor supervisor. I had this older guy come in shopping for his daughter. It was her birthday. We helped him out finding everything he wanted and it ended up being a good sale. But when it came to checking the guy out was a different story. I was listing off the things he picked out. Shoes, jacket, hat. That's when he stopped me. It's a cap, he said. I said okay. I don't want the cap unless you call it a cap. I just looked at him blankly, took the hat off the screen and put it behind me. Best part is he asked to see the manager. When I told him that was me he said okay, let's agree to disagree. I want the cap. My favorite story in this thread. I work at a small men's clothing store and this guy wanted me to try on the pants he wanted to buy and see how it looked on me. She ran a mini marathon on blacktop in $20 paper flats and disintegrated the soles, then wanted to exchange for better, more expensive shoes since the ones she bought were defective. I was wearing the dress the customer wanted, in the size she wanted. She demanded to buy my dress, the one I was currently wearing, because she needed it for the weekend. You don't want this dress. I've got shingles on my back. It's pretty bad. I used to work in the bodywear, men's underwear and PJs department of a high-end department store. I'd have men trying to return clearly worn, sometimes stained boxers all the time. Customers were allowed to try on pants before they bought them, and I'd always tell them to try them on over the underwear they were already wearing, but most didn't. I had a couple of repeat customers who discreetly asked if I could grab some lingerie stockings from the women's department for them to try on. Never bothered me. It was a luxury store and I was genuinely happy to help these guys. Good for you for not being weird about it. Not me, but my sister. A dude asked her to check what size underwear he was currently wearing. She suggested he duck into the dressing room and look for himself. His response? Damn it, ugh. She should have taken the opportunity to give the guy a massive wedgie. Find me this item in my daughter's size even though it's a sale item. Told her I couldn't find it. Got chewed out and got told if we have items on sale we should order more to meet demand. Tried to explain sale items are items that didn't do well, hence why they are on sale. She then told me a store shouldn't order clothes that don't do well. Well, that's freaking news to me apparently. Had a mom of a girl on the cusp of big kid versus junior sizes demand that I give her a pair of adult shoes at a kid price. She's only 11. I shouldn't have to pay full price to put shoes on her feet. When I refused, she tried to force her daughter to wear shoes that were way too small. The poor girl was in tears by the end of it. Newsflash. Kids grow rapidly. It's your job as a parent to find a way to feed, house, and clothe your child. It's not the store's job to charge you based on age. Also, thrift stores done. My kids have oodles of stuff from thrift stores and it's all 80% less than retail with very little wear. Shoes especially. Kids frequently outgrow shoes insanely fast, so they end up at thrift stores with just a little wear on the soles. I was working at Nordstrom in a big West Coast city in the accessories department. It was towards closing time and a woman and a man walked into my department. I overheard her telling him to go look at the men's clothing while she looked at scarves. He agreed and walked away. She came up to me and pulled out a case of sunglasses and said, "Hi sweetie, I need your help. My boyfriend in Texas bought me these sunglasses and I need to return them," and I asked her for a receipt or a sticker to return the item. She said she never got one. I told her I would try to look it up by the credit card number and asked if the gentleman could come back to the department, and she yelled no. That man is my husband. My boyfriend in Texas bought me these. My husband can't find out. So I calmly asked her to call her boyfriend, who never picked up the phone. She threatened me some more until I hit the LP button on the keyboard and got it handled by the store manager. TLDR. Women threatened me to return her sunglasses from her boyfriend when she walked into my department with her husband. I worked at a small local menswear store in New York and a woman came in and bought her brother that lived in Tucson a sweater for his birthday. A few months later, I get a phone call from some guy saying he'd like to return a sweater his sister gave him but he doesn't want her to know, so can I please credit his credit card instead of hers so she won't find out. Unfortunately, the garment was also missing the tags and there was no receipt. I politely explained that the store policy was a 10-day exchange or store credit with the accompanying receipt, and unfortunately we were well past that threshold. There was no receipt, only the sticker on the paper gift wrapping telling the store's name, and on top of that, he didn't want the payment reverted to his sister's account. This dude starts screaming at me over the phone about my poor customer service and that he is a sheriff and demanding better service. He then abruptly hangs up and writes a scathing Yelp review about my obstinacy and lack of customer service. Of course I got in trouble and had a stern talking to about the incident. Was made to be the scapegoat because I was following the written directions that were posted literally directly above my head every day in that shop. TLDR. Police officer screamed at me for not breaking the store policy for him. I hate when stores don't have their employees back. Not necessarily a demand, but an older woman once offered me money if I would go to her house and tidy her wardrobe for her. It's so hard to find good help these days, especially when you are looking in a freaking clothing store. All the time I had people tell me they were just going to buy 20-25 items of clothing, then they were going to take it all home, try it on there, and they'd be back in a couple of days to return what didn't fit. There wasn't a darned thing I could do about it. One day my numbers would show this incredible sale, my boss would pat me on the back, and 2 days later I'd get this horrible return. My boss would frown, but once I explained, she'd frown again. When the items came back, invariably they'd all been shoved in bags and such, so they were all crumpled and wrinkled and we'd have to re-steam and press everything. I know on occasion some of the items had been worn, but if the tags were still on and there weren't any obvious signs of damage, we had to take them back if they had a receipt. They always did. It totally messed with my commission sales numbers. I tell you what. I think this illustrates the negative effects of commissions rather than customers making crazy demands. A man came up to the counter with a pair of pants to return. Okay, no problem. Except he didn't have the receipt or the card he bought it on. Essentially he wanted me to find it in our records out of thin air. When I told him that I couldn't find it without proof of purchase, he started yelling about how he doesn't appreciate me giving him a hard time and was incredibly rude. Worked in a suit shop. My first day, some guy shouted at my 17-year-old self till I ate up because he wanted the formal wear, i.e., the entire shop, and I couldn't work out his request. He meant the higher wear, which was clearly labeled as upstairs. I work retail and happened to overhear an exchange at the service desk a few days ago. An older man was trying to return an item his wife had bought with her credit card. He was being offered in-store credit for it because he had no receipt, and he was getting angry because he didn't understand why they couldn't refund the money via his credit card. Demanded to talk to a manager. The woman helping him replied coolly that she was the manager and if he wanted she could provide him with all the details he needed to contact corporate and file a complaint. He realized at that point that he was being in butthole and wasn't getting what he wanted, so he sourly accepted the in-store credit. Daily I deal with small idiocies, like people very vaguely describing what they want. For example, yesterday an old couple asked me for putty. I asked what kind of putty, what is it used for? They looked exasperated, like I'm the biggest idiot in the world for not knowing what kind of putty they wanted, and just said putty saru. I take them to the wood putty. That's not what we want. We need plumber's putty. Then fricking say plumber's putty, you buttholes. Someone asking for a discount when you work for one of the most expensive luxury retailers in the planet and being told that I'm spending a lot so I should have a discount, which baffles me. Nobody is asking you to spend over 20k. You entered the shop knowing fully well what the brand and the prices are. So I'm a barista and a supervisor at a very well-known coffee chain. I've had many odd requests. I've been asked to create a size larger than large. I said, well, how about I give you 2 medium drinks, and this woman went ape crap because she only wanted to have to hold 1 cup. Sorry, I can't make another cup for you. Had an old man come in and crap everywhere in the loos. I'm talking up the walls, on the mirror. I'd only just started at my current store. I've worked in 3 stores of the same chain, so I was the one who had to clean that up. Once had a woman accuse me of purposely not giving her our lunchtime deal. We have a deal where you can purchase a drink, crisps and sandwich for like a $5 before 2 p.m. You guys, she came in at 5 p.m. screaming because I wouldn't allow her to have the lunch deal. Honey, if you're not at the till before 2 p.m, it doesn't go through. Sorry. She was with her elderly, disabled mother and then pulled the discrimination card. Yee, I'm SOOO not letting you have the lunch deal 3 hours late because of your disabled mum. I became a supervisor 5 months ago, so now whenever someone says I demand to talk to the manager, I have the unexplainable delight of saying you're speaking to her. I used to work a shop. A dad brought in his son and asked me, what size shirts do kids his size usually wear? I reached for the tag on the kid's shirt, read the number, and said 8. Never underestimate how stupid the general public is. I feel sorry for that kid. The amount of times people try on clothing or talk about how great something would look on them and then try to tell us no tax. It's for a kid. Like, I just saw you holding that shirt up to your boyfriend. Don't try to tell me your 7-year-old wears size XX tap out shirts. These are common. I'm 5'2" and people around 5'8" constantly ask me to get a size down because they can't reach. People ask what size their daughter, sister, mother etc is without having them there or even a picture. They then get annoyed that you don't know, using the fitting rooms as a toilet and the curtains as toilet paper, leaving dildos in the kids' fitting room. Obligatory. Not me, my sister. My sister was a manager at a children's clothing store a few years back, and they had a buy one, get one sale on some sweaters. This lady comes in, explains that she only needed the one sweater, and would like a refund on her free sweater. My sister explained patiently that you can't refund something given to you for free, and that she could only offer a complete refund, both sweaters, or nothing at all. The woman got all red in the face and insisted that she spoke to the manager earlier that day, and he had told her to come in for the refund, so she'd driven out of her way to do so. Probably still her favorite I'm the manager story, which is why I've heard it often enough to retell it here. I worked in an outlet mall. Someone pee in one of the bags we sold and left it in the dressing room. Since they just up and left a pee-filled bag, I think they were demanding we clean it. I got paid like $8 an hour. So no thanks, I'm not doing that. Boss man took care of it for me. I briefly worked at a Red Wing boots and shoes after college. If you're unfamiliar with the brand, they're work boots. At the time, they were made in the US, were of pretty decent quality, and had a 1-year guarantee. So long as you brought your boots back within a year of purchase, We'd either have them replaced or repaired at no cost. I had a guy come in one day, wanting us to replace his boots. He was in our system as having purchased them from us, and he'd had them for just shy of 2 years. I told him about our policy, and explained to him how 2 was more than 1, but he was dead set on not having to pay for another pair of $300 boots. He eventually left once I let him know that there was no one higher ranking than me in the shop at the moment that could give him the answer he wanted, and let him know when the manager was in next if he wanted to argue the case. I used to work at Bath and Body Works, and an old lady who I suspect was partially deaf kept demanding we process a return for soap she purchased. Used bar soap, that she bought from Walmart. How did I know she bought it from Walmart? It had the clearance sticker on it. Dove, she had clearance Dove soap that she used, repackaged, and brought into my Bath and Body Works to return it. Oh boy. A mother wanted me to take off her child's socks and put sandals on her to try, pretending not to hear her, and walked away. Why doesn't she do it herself? Not a crazy demand, but I used to work for an audio-visual company back in New Zealand that did sales as well as hire and go out and set up operate events. Had a deaf guy come in and he wanted to check out lasers. Had to communicate with him via writing down notes. Turns out when you are in a dark room testing out lasers, it's a bit hard to read and write notes. We did this for about 30-45 minutes, but seeing the smile on his face when he bought something he really liked made my week. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.